Adam's soul was drifting in the dark, not knowing how much time had passed, but he does not mind since it feels cozy for him. Suddenly, he heard a sound from a distance and thought it was his dad. But to his surprise, he was then greeted by a system panel. And to shock him even more, the system panel revealed he was already dead. The last time he checked, he was still at his home. He then panicked upon the realization that this place might be heaven. The panel told him to calm down since he will be reborn in a new world soon. Adam thought that the panel's voice was similar to that of an old wizard. He also wondered if there would be adventure and magic in this new life. He looked down as the panel presented him his status when he was reborn. Looking at his dashboard, he was delighted that he seemed strong. But he demanded an explanation upon seeing his mana is 0. He was not satisfied with his current skills, wondering where his OP skills are. That was when he saw that he would be reborn as an ant worker, making him wonder if he screwed over someone in his past life. But he knew it was impossible since he had no friends. He went silent at the thought of how miserable his past life was. He then gritted his teeth, mocking the system as it told him to forge his path. The system then began the countdown, initializing the soul transfer. As the process was completed, the system began the hatching process. Adam then found himself inside a chrysalis as he tried to get out. It was finally dawning on him that he was really reborn as an ant. His ant legs and 2 antennae began protruding from the pupa. He fully came out after a short while. He really became an ant. Looking forward, he noticed that his newborn vision was blurry. But then, he noticed that there was something ahead of him. He continued walking forward, sensing weird smells and air currents. He concluded that he was underground, then wondered where his brethren were. He continued crawling forward until he sensed a new comrade ahead. He followed the light, excited to meet his ant brothers. He continued scurrying, looking forward to contributing to the colony. But what greeted him outside was a sight he never expected. He saw several more ants being thrashed into the air. Above them stood a massive reptilian predator, glaring at him. He exclaimed in horror at the sight of the monster, who looked at him menacingly while chewing his ant brothers with a crunch. Seeing the terrifying lizard enjoying its ant meal, he thought that he didn't sign up for this kind of ordeal. As the beast continued to eat, he saw one ant stuck under its foot. It looked at him as if begging for mercy, filling him with guilt as he couldn't do anything. His face was then filled with determination after figuring out what to do. He began charging forward with all his might, his eyes burning with resolve. It was a courageous retreat, leading him to fall inside the ant colony. But he was worried that he might casually encounter another lizard. That was when he thought of a bright idea. He needed to dig. He tried to scratch the ground with his legs, but it wasn't working. That was when he realized that ants use their mandibles to dig. Learning this, he wasted no time and immediately dug using his face. In no time, he was able to create a narrow path where no predators could pass. He continued digging, finally making it out to the other side. He lays down in exhaustion, but is still worried that he'd die if he's found. He wondered why he was not born inside a colony surrounded by allies. Thinking about the unfortunate ant who became a lizard's meal, he finally figured out that a raid is currently taking place inside. He then remembered the system telling him about skill points and biomass. He thought that he should be able to open some sort of menu if that was the case. He then looked up, chanting the word level up, but nothing happened. He forced a bitter smile, embarrassed that it didn't work. He thought of another word and prepared to chant it out. He struck a flashy pose as he commanded the words status open. The system panel finally appeared, displaying his stats. He then wondered if his grip stats allow him to hold well onto things. The system explained that it allows him to walk on walls. Hearing the system's voice, he was delighted and praised it. Likening it to a dignified old wizard from a certain movie, he called the voice Gandalf. He then praised it for allowing him to access information with just his thoughts. He then looked at the system panel, figuring out what his other skills allow him to do. Seeing his acid skill, he speculated that he belongs to a formidable species of formic acid spraying ant. He weighed the pros and cons of improving his acid skill. He also thought that it wasn't the best tool along with biting, crawling, and digging. What he misses the most is information crucial for his survival. He knew that he needed to collect information on his own out in the tunnels, but the thought of the unknown horrors lurking out there makes him tremble in fear. He couldn't contain the dread and began panicking. He told himself to calm down. Staying rational is how he can assure survival. He steeled himself, knowing he just needed to spend his skill points wisely. But he scratched his head, wondering how he could do that. The voice then asked if he would like to spend his skill points, to which he was delighted as it solved his dilemma of not knowing how to do it. He knew that he had to think logically where to spend his points. He considered the available skills for sale, weighing their pros and cons. He also looked at the bodily improvements available to purchase. Seeing that he is the weakest creature in that place, he decided to buy another eye and a stealth skill. The system clarified if he wanted to purchase them, to which he immediately agreed. Suddenly, he felt a burning sensation in his eyes. He rubbed them and rolled in pain as he wondered why it was happening. But after quite a while, the pain began subsiding away. He is now ready to move, equipped with new countermeasures in his arsenal. He began climbing the tunnel. It's time for him to explore. As he traversed the path, he sensed that it was clear. He remembered that the right path is where the lizard predator was. Knowing this, he decided to go to the left tunnel. He continued gripping on the walls with determination, crawling as fast as he could inside the tunnel. He laughed as he continued marching forward, his eyes locked toward his destination. He believes that hanging outside down should also help with his stealth skill. Using his new eyes, he saw several twisting and branching blue veins. He also thought that his newborn exoskeleton will harden over time. Adam covered his eyes as he got out, greeted by the blinding light outside. What greeted him was a huge cavern with a pool of water below. He was then shocked when he realized that it wasn't all. In front of him were centipedes and other predators, glaring at him. Assuming that he was the weakest creature there, he's good as dead if he's discovered. Stealth is not only vital for his survival but also for information gathering. It was disorienting for him to switch in those ant eyes when he was used to human vision. He also thought that ants are a communal species that rely on one another, but he is currently alone, which makes his situation all the more risky. With this, he decided that improving his eyesight is his top priority. He looked down on the pool, wondering who was making those awful noises. He decided to approach, thinking he needed to get a closer look. He continued crawling through the ceiling. He was almost there. He locked his gaze below, but he saw nothing. He could barely focus with all the water's reflection on the ceiling of the cave. Adam then saw water droplets dripping from the stones above, falling into the pool below and causing it to ripple. He shook his head. He knew that it can't be the source of those noises. He squinted his eyes in suspicion and thought that there must be something else. Looking down, he saw several beasts lurking beside the pool. He comically realized that it was obviously those monsters making the noise. To his surprise, they suddenly turned around and glared at him. Fortunately, he was able to hide just in time to avoid being detected. He steeled himself and activated his stealth mode. Seeing his presence thin out, he couldn't help but admire the skill. With this, he should now be able to observe in peace. He already got a good look of the predators he should watch out for. But then, he was disgusted and dreaded to see his worst enemy. It was none other than the lizard from earlier, the croca beast. However, he found it weird that these creatures weren't attacking each other. He thought he might have missed the Great Monster Peace Treaty meeting. Since he needs more answers, he decided to move a little closer. He reminded himself that slow and steady wins the race. After many minutes of walking in total darkness, he wiped off his sweat. Even though ants can't physically sweat, he was also delighted to see that his stealth skill is level 2 now. He knew that he had traveled a significant distance, confirming his suspicion that skills can be trained by use. He was happy that he could train and gain information at once, but he stopped himself from getting carried away, knowing he'd be dead if he's discovered. He then saw a clump of dirt and approached to see what it really was. But he was mistaken. It was actually a coil of several centipedes. He couldn't help but vomit in utter nervousness. He cursed the dungeon and wished he had some medicines. Looking at the last monster, he thought he only had to watch out for spikes. He knew that each of them is basically a pack of biomass points. However, he retreated for now since he needed to make preparations first. The next few hours, he observed the monster's movements. The first pair to leave was the centipede and the crocodile, heading to the same spot. Next was the wolf, who headed to a small tunnel at the south end. Then lastly, the spiky lizard crawled to a wall and disappeared. With this, he decided to target the wall dweller first. Consequently, his stealth finally reached level 3. He then sighed as he decided to activate his digging ability. He wished to relax, but he knew that more work had to be done. He began digging fiercely so he could have some more breathing room. He continued chomping on the ground with his mandibles, then secured the place by covering the opening with dirt. With this, he was able to obtain a secure nest and level up his digging skill. He collapsed to the ground, utterly exhausted. He's hungry, but decided to sleep first before hunting his first prey. The spiky lizard from earlier, it was his target. Adam perched on the roof of the cavern, thinking about something. He was looking so pale and thin while drooling in hunger. He weakly gripped onto the rock, trying his best not to fall. He remembered the delicious things he was able to eat in his previous life. He was so hungry to the point that he was hallucinating. The last time he saw the croca beast, he thought it was meat. Even the centipedes looked like a tangle of noodles in his eyes. He knows he has to solve it before he gets himself killed. He spent way too long preparing his next move for his stomach to get in the way. He studied the whole place for 2 whole days just to prepare. The fatigue is already catching up to him, making him slip and nearly fall. He knew that falling into the water would be a swim he wouldn't enjoy. But his hardships were not without reward. he managed to level up stealth and digging. He laughed maniacally as the realization of his plans were nearing, but he hopes he can conquer his first prey before he dies out of hunger. His antennae suddenly twitched, alerting him of the approaching prey. He can already smell the scent of it in the air. From a crack on the wall, a pair of eyes were looking to come out. It was the spiky lizard, finally coming out of its resting place. He had a hard time waiting since it is an isolated creature, but now, he can see that it finally came out of its nest. He flashed an evil grin. It's time to execute his plans. He immediately activated stealth and scrambled behind it. His stomach continued rumbling, but he knew it's not far from being filled now. He looked at the spikes on the lizard's tail, knowing it would sting when poked by it. But he doesn't have the luxury of hesitating since he's hungry. He wore a determined look and prepared to pounce. He wasted no time and immediately charged against the unknowing prey. He spewed his acid from the air, splashing at the ground. The lizard tumbled upside down, wincing in pain with his injured foot. He declared the next step of subduing the lizard, who turned against him. Adam was unbothered. He's confident with a battle on the wall. His grip is already at level 3, so neither the wall or the lizard threatens him. He taunted the lizard, knowing it couldn't catch up to him with his burning foot. The lizard whipped its tail against him, striking the wall he's clinging at. The wall was shattered, sending him flying away in the air, but Adam already expected it and spewed his acid directly on its head. The lizard hissed sharply in pain of its burning head. The prey is now trembling before him, unable to move. A loud roar was heard echoing through the cavern walls. He knew that he can't let it drag out since there are other predators too. He noticed the lizard is slowing down from its injuries. It's nearly time. But it won't go down without a fight, and whipped its tail against him. It was so quick that it was right before his face in an instant. He leaned back, barely evading the vicious tail attack. He quickly regained his momentum and charged back at the lizard. He leaped in the air, hovering above its back. A crisp crunch was heard as he attacked the lizard. It's time for the final phase of subjugation, chomping it to death. The lizard retaliated and tried to get Adam off its back, only to lose its grip on the wall in the process and fall to the ground. Even as they landed on the ground, Adam did not let go of his bite. He apologized to the lizard, but he needed to do it to quench his hunger. He began shooting his acid against the lizard's body. After several shots, his acid shot skill leveled up by 1. But it wasn't enough for an instant kill, so Adam had no choice. He opened his mouth, proceeding with the hard way of quenching his hunger. Munching and crunching sounds were heard as he devoured his prey. With 10 minutes of biting, he was exhausted but managed to level up his skill. Adam has hunted, battled, and achieved victory. He reflected that he has never worked this hard in his past life. Mostly, he remembers feeling numb and empty. The system announced his rewards for defeating the lizard. He remarked that the lizard's name sounds vaguely Latin. He then noticed something: his species wasn't listed as Formica. He thought that his knowledge would come in handy if all the creatures are named in Latin. He then reflected on learning 3 important things so far. Firstly, he found out he could level up by defeating other creatures. He can also earn a new skill point whenever he improves his level. And since the lizard is at level 2, it's either born that way or has leveled up once. However, he's still keen about his original goal, and that is to devour other creatures and grow stronger. He thought he was grateful for the food, but the taste is wretched. He couldn't help but feel like vomiting whenever he remembered its taste. The system informed him of gaining a biomass point, to which he was delighted. With this, he decided to rest since he's set up for the next week. He then got up, excitedly looking at his system panel while thinking it was a rich hunt. He scurried away to his nest for a retreat to consider his next move. The monsters obsessed with the pool didn't know one of their rivals had gone missing. After several minutes of tracing his path back to his nest, he wore a vicious look as he planned for his next course of action. He firstly checked his updated status on the system panel. He couldn't help but feel proud of his incredible growth. The obstacles may prove to be challenging and sometimes turn him over, but he's confident that he will get back up and survive against all odds. He cleared his throat. That was enough daydreaming for one day. He shook his head to ease his nervousness. He then wore a serious look as he resolved himself to make a decision. He only has 2 biomass points, so he needs to spend it carefully. He decided to evolve his eyesight so he could see better. The system clarified if it was his final decision, to which he excitedly agreed. He once again felt a burning pain in his eyes as the evolution took place. Teary-eyed, he opened his eyes as it was finally over. His vision is still far worse than the average human eyesight, but it's okay for now. Now, it's time to purchase a skill he had been considering. It was none other than the tunnel sense skill, which would up his chances for survival in this big and unknown world. It will broaden his range and allow him to explore farther and get back safely. The system once again clarified his purchase, to which he agreed. He remarked that this process feels better than the burning sensation of evolution. Now that the skill has been learned, he's looking forward to using it for exploration. but before that, he thought he deserved a nice and comfortable nap. Meanwhile, footsteps were seen traversing through the ground. A couple of silhouettes emerged, holding a flashlight forward. The woman asked what was wrong, which the man said he seemed to have seen wrongly. Adam continued his sleep, oblivious of what's waiting for him in this world. Adam felt like he's sleeping on cloud 9. It was so comfortable. He feels so blissful and wishes he could stay like that forever. But then, he drifted from the edge of the cloud and fell, surprising him. He crashed hard to the ground, forcefully waking him up from his dream. He sighed, thinking he should have seen that coming. Now that he's awake, he decided it's time to explore and find his next prey. But before that, there was something else he wanted to try. He struck a weird heart pose as he commanded for an unlock. He continued doing these weird poses to access his profile. He felt like he's a wizard opening a mysterious dungeon door. However, he was disappointed upon learning that those things didn't work. He had unlocked a basic profile of the lizard, but he couldn't access it. That was when he realized he might be overthinking it this whole time. He smirked, planning to try a new approach in unlocking the profile. He leaped, tumbling gracefully in the air with his lightweightness. He then flashily landed on the ground, chanting the name of the lizard. Adam was delighted to finally unlock the access to the lizard's profile. Upon looking, he learned that its spines are sharp and contain venom. He banged his head against the wall, disappointed by the information. But he was comforted by the thought that he was just looking at their basic profile. He speculated he'll be able to access more details if he consumes more of them. With this, he decided it's time to pursue his next task and went on his way. He sang leisurely as he went on to find another prey. Looking at the place, he noticed not much has changed since he left. But the pool seemed to be glowing slightly brighter with his improved eyes. He then reflected that he never felt thirsty for the 3 days he had come. He wondered if there's something different about them or himself. Knowing what to do, he scurried his way forward to investigate. He needs to know more about this mysterious water and survive. He reminded himself to be careful while executing the process. But no matter how careful he was still unfortunate to encounter the centipedes. Earlier, he observed that most monsters have some form of reptilian features. The wolf glared at his direction, to which he immediately panicked, but he was confused as he saw it retreating at the sight of him. He looked back, only to see a looming centipede beast above him. They slithered and writhed, glaring intensely at Adam as he flinched, but thankfully, they appeared to not harbor any hostility against him. He already had suspicions, so he risked his life showing himself to them. It was all because he never witnessed any creature being attacked in there. There was plenty of conflict in some other place, but never beside the pool. He speculated there must be something special about this water source. He didn't really want to drink the water, but he must do so to gain information. He closed his eyes and immediately shoved his face into the water. But he immediately retreated upon contact, feeling a burning sensation. He wondered if it was hydrochloric acid upon swallowing it. He also wondered if this is what those creatures have been coming there for. But he found it strange that despite the burn, there was no change to his health. He expected some special effect, only to end up disappointed that nothing happened. Now that he's done, he decided he will explore elsewhere. But he couldn't resist one more sip of the water. He went back and shoved his face into the water for another taste. He rolled to the ground upon feeling the burning sensation once again. He decided to leave, reminding himself never to try that again. Adam went on his way, planning to explore the place using his tunnel sense. All he had to do is head toward the regions where light veins are densest. He then wondered what creatures lurk within these strange tunnels. His face lit up as he finally figured out what they might be. He was able to confirm it upon seeing stairways ahead of him. Light veins of the tunnel sense were densely illuminated on the stairways. With this, he decided to approach so he could take a closer look. He then noticed strange carvings on the rock stairs, wondering who did it. He speculated that this might be tangible evidence of humanoid creatures' existence. He wondered what sort of fantasy-like people live in that new world. He's looking forward to encountering dwarves and elves. However, he was wondering why they would bother carving stairs into this tunnel. He thought he was a genius, saying the answer is almost self-explanatory. He speculated it's a frequently used tunnel, and they did it for convenience. He also thought that there might even be a path to the surface. He continued walking forward, noticing that the stairs are even more helpful than he initially thought. He thought he could use these stairs to measure himself. He began complex calculations to estimate how large he is. Finishing his calculations, he guessed he's at least a meter tall. In his perspective, the monsters seemed so tall and menacing. But considering the adult human's perspective, they were relatively small. That was when he figured out that the monsters in this area were actually weak. He trembled in fear, realizing how much more terrifying monsters are out there. Considering it, he decided to back away from climbing the stairs. His retreat led him to a mysterious hallway ahead with lights. He was delighted to see more signs of civilization the farther he travels. He can see fewer light veins the deeper he goes into the tunnel. This might be a perfect setup for him, but something feels off. His heart couldn't stop pounding in his chest in excitement and nervousness. He's having mixed feelings at the thought of meeting a person of this world. He had so many questions for them, and wondered if communication was even possible. He sees the potential breakthrough in human and ant-monster relations. He thought he's a rare case, being an original human in an ant's body. As he continued, he noticed the cavern becoming narrower and steeper. He then saw something ahead, wondering if it is what he thinks it is. He was right. The blinding light of the sunlight was pouring from above. He couldn't help but be touched upon seeing sunlight for the first time in this life. With its discovery, he concluded that the surface is a lot closer than he initially thought. He then noticed that there's more light ahead and approached, only to see visible traces of human construction. He wasted no time and immediately entered upon seeing the guard room. Inside, he wondered what the red light he's seeing was. Shortly after, scrambling motions were heard. 2 humans emerged from the door and approached him. They were holding a device used to detect incoming monsters. On the man's hand then flashed glowing runic symbols. Adam couldn't believe his eyes that he was seeing magic. He was so delighted upon witnessing it, wondering if these people would teach him, but the very magic he's been admiring was then pointed towards him. Adam remembered that the red crystal was meant to detect monsters. Seeing it glowing in his presence, that's when it finally dawned upon him. He's dead. These people see him as a monster and will therefore hunt him. The humans prepared to subdue him while he wondered what he was doing. He wasted no time and immediately scurried away. He ran through the hallway, even tripping on a stone lying on the ground. He lost his balance and tumbled over while fireballs were hurled at him. He struggled to stand up, legs trembling as he urged his body to move. A fireball then streaked dangerously close, to which he barely dodged. More fireballs were launched, to which he hid for a moment before resuming his retreat. But then, an arrow suddenly landed right in front of him, startling him. As the flames engulfed the place, he planned to secure his exit route. He stood before each door, checking if they were the pathway leading to his escape. On the last door, he was surprised to be greeted by a foul stench. Seeing his pursuers behind, Adam unleashed his acid shot. But he clearly saw the enemies unleashing another arrow in response. He immediately ducked, barely evading certain death. He felt bad for letting go of his chance to form relations with humans. Fireballs continued to rain down on him as he escaped. He was so absorbed with fleeing that he didn't notice the rock in front of him. He smashed his face into it and fell to the ground. He realized how stupid he was for trying to communicate with humans. He reminded himself that he's not a human anymore, but a 1-meter-long ant. Suddenly, he was alerted by the hissing sound of centipedes. He then told himself to snap out of it and shook his head. He contemplated whether it's better to face the centipedes or the human. Suddenly, his pursuer peeked from the entrance of the cavern, surprising him. He immediately ran away as the human extended arms to grab him. He threw himself directly into the tunnel, where a few centipedes were resting on the other end. Fortunately, these insects could not detect his presence due to stealth mode. He considered using his acid shot to lure these centipedes as bait. However, he knew that escaping an angry horde would be tough for him. He released his stealth mode, thinking he had no other options for now. Without hesitation, he immediately shot his acid spray toward the centipedes. The centipedes hissed and screeched as they felt the burning sensation of acid. They glared at him with intense bloodlust. Utterly enraged, Adam looked back with a hopeless expression upon seeing their wrath. The centipedes furiously charged against him, to which he ran away. After several minutes, he cried upon finally reaching the entrance. But looking back, the centipedes have also almost caught up to him. He frantically avoided them as they reached out their pincers. He kept pushing himself forward, towards the light of the entrance. But upon exiting, he was frightened to see the human waiting for him. Fortunately, the centipedes came out just in time and attacked the man. All Adam had to do now is to escape, but his face paled as he realized how messed up his situation is. In front of him were several more centipedes waiting for him, but to his surprise, the centipedes began exploding. A huge battle between the centipedes and the human ensued. The centipede roared in fury as he was engulfed by the magic flames. Amidst this chaos was Adam in his stealth mode, scared out of his wits. He thought that the current situation is more like a slaughter than a fight. He watched the battle continue and thought he can't recklessly butt in. He broke down into tears, wondering what he is supposed to do. But then, the spirit of his human self slapped him out. He cried and thanked him, saying he needed that wake-up call. He composed himself and began looking on the brighter side of things. He also reflected on the existence of magic, human society, and their power gaps. With this, he learned a valuable lesson about the king of stats, the health points. After receiving attacks, his health points were reduced to half. He looked at his dashboard, thinking of a way to regenerate his HP. He wondered if it would recover over time or if he should heal his injuries manually. His gaze fell into the dead centipedes, thinking this was a golden opportunity. In his eyes, what awaits in front of him is a mountain of biomass. He took his time devouring every single corpse, hopping from one to another and scavenging through them. He heaved a sigh upon finishing his meal, thinking of it as a feast fit for a king like him. He opened his mouth for one last bite of the centipede corpse. After gulping and swallowing it down, Adam felt sick. He began vomiting, thinking that the taste is just too gross. But putting that aside, he was able to gain a biomass point. He then checked the basic profile of the centipede, remarking it as useless. He proceeded to check his stats first before spending his biomass. The system presented him with a detailed panel of his stats, to which Adam saw that his HP began to recover and he had 2 biomass to spend. The next day, Adam reflected on how hectic yesterday was. He then wished for Gandalf to make today more peaceful, since he has 2 important tasks that must be done. First is to mutate his eyes to another level where he needs 1 more biomass. Another thing, he has to move his nest to make sure he's not slaughtered. He wasted no time and began traversing the place to find a new nest. The battle between the humans and the centipedes is still ongoing, but he decided to move past them stealthily to avoid getting involved. He crawled on the ceiling and approached the light, wondering why on earth are all those soldiers out there. The humans began unleashing their magic beams toward the centipedes. From above, Adam also saw strange devices and wondered what those were. His eyes gleamed with admiration to humans' fancy technology, but he shook the thought, thinking this is no time to marvel at their magic. He cried, wondering how he was supposed to get out of that place alive. He knew he could never sneak past them, and his nest isn't safe either. Only one option available to him, but he knew that such a choice would lead him to certain demise. That option is none other than to return to the Crocobeast's lair. He was so emotional as he bade farewell to his former nest. It would have been a real home had he been with his fellow ant brothers. But an idea struck him. Isn't this the perfect time to find his birth nest? It's high time he tries to get along with his own kind, the ant kind. He also wondered how far away he was dragged from his nest before he was born. He speculated that the nest may be closer than he thought. He wore a look of determination, urging himself to stay positive. His mission is set. Embark on a journey to find the queen. The thought of reuniting with her mom sounded warm to him. He continued scurrying through the tunnels in search of his birth nest. As he was walking, he noticed that the blue lines were brighter than before. He finds it peculiar that they're even pulsating more frequently. He continued with a worried look, silently hoping there were no monsters. He sighed that he's safe for now, but he needs to make sure of it. He activated his tunnel sensibility, wishing it would take him away from the surface and its nasty human armies. Suddenly, his antennae were picking something up. He felt that there's a distinct change in the air 100 meters away. He continued walking to follow the lead of his antennae, but he suddenly bumped his head into a rock wall in front of him. Wincing, he caressed his head to ease the pain. With this, he was certain that he had to give up 1 ability for biomass purchase. Left with no choice, he decided to improve his antennae instead of his eyes. As usual, he felt a stinging pain on the part of his body he wished to improve. He remarked on Gandalf's cruelty for making him suffer like that, but now he can detect a faint scent in the air. He steeled himself, determined to continue on his journey. With his heightened senses activated as he traversed the tunnel, he reminded himself that slow and steady wins the race. Suddenly, his antennae raised as he picked something up. There is a scent of pheromones in the air, leading him to a certain place. With this, he knew that his people were calling him home. He continued on, not knowing for certain what was waiting for him beyond the cave. He entered the cave with a determined expression. He thought that the colony was calling to him, but he reminded himself not to get too carried away. He continued tracking the path until he could pick up the trail somewhere. As he went deeper, he noticed that the tunnel itself was becoming more irregular. The further he went in, the stronger the vibrations he could feel in the air. He stumbled into splitting pathways and remarked it would be hard to keep track of. This prompted him to activate the tunnel sense skill. He also marked the tunnels with symbols to help him keep track of the routes. He decided to explore the right-hand path first. He wasted no time and entered the door, only to be surprised by what greeted him on the other side. A pack of hungry wolves were seen feasting on bones, intimidating Adam as he hastily retreated. He certainly would never try to sneak past those vicious monsters. He then crossed out the room as a symbol for instant death. Proceeding to the next room, he's silently hoping that this path would be more manageable. He feels like the next path is safe, leading to his complacency. But then, he quickly raised his guard back up. He noticed a suspicious thread-like thing in front of him. He closely inspected it, remarking that he wouldn't have seen it had he not evolved his eyes. He would have walked headfirst into a situation he wouldn't have survived. He was pissed at the thought of spiders thinking they're the king of the insect world, when they do nothing but let their webs do the hard work for them. It was unlike the honest and straightforward worker like an ant. He also knew that if he had 200 of his kind there, the spider wouldn't be sitting comfortably while threatening him. Adam couldn't see a spider, but it doesn't mean it isn't nearby. He has to gather information first to determine the best path forward. He carefully treaded through the web-infested tunnel. He picked up a small piece of rock using his mandibles, then threw it towards the spider webs blocking his way. The piece of rock was then stuck on the web, luring the spider out. He then threw another piece of rock towards it, sticking it once again into the web. He quickly retreated after doing so and hid in a tunnel. Here it comes, the spider who owns the webs in the cavern. Its massive silhouette emerged from the dark, threatening to devour him. Looking at the spider, Adam thought that this thing is hideous. It has 8 furry legs that can hardly support its fat and massive body, contrary to him who only has 3 body segments and 6 legs. He reflected that it might not be a high-level monster since it's lower on the food chain. He retreated to place a considerable distance between him and the spider. He then looked back, gauging how much force he needed to exert as he prepared. Shortly after, he fired his acid shot against the spider without hesitation. Its pained hissing sound was heard while Adam quickly retreated. He knew that his upgraded eyesight is still no match for the spider. The spider must be thinking it's safe in the shadows, but Adam has been watching him. He wasted no time and immediately followed up another shot of his acid. The spider hissed once again as it felt the burning sensation of his acid. It was a hit-and-run tactic from Adam, who taunted the spider as he retreated again. Despite his taunting, Adam is actually afraid just thinking of the spider's rampage. He went back to the place where the pathways were splitting. If worse comes to worst, he plans on hiding close to the wolf lizards. Another plan is that he could force them to fight the spider. The wolf lizards would approach with their fangs bared. They will immediately leap and pounce on the spider, to which Adam will quickly slip through their den to safety. That was the plan, but the spider appears to be as cautious as him. He was pissed at the thought of spiders effortlessly hunting by just waiting. The spider's prey are already stuck and unable to fight, practically free biomass. He sighed, remarking that being a spider is like easy mode in the dungeon. This unfairness enraged him, and the only thing that can ease it is the spider's death. He already weighed the odds and believes that winning is a possibility. The tunnel is bright, so it wouldn't be difficult to spot the spider. Secondly, the spider is as weak as him, and he only needs to remove it from its web. Once he's able to do so, he is certain that he can win in a head-on confrontation. But he wonders how exactly he can ensure he never fights on its web. He squinted his eyes with determination. Phase 1 is already complete. He knew it likely lost some health from his earlier acid attacks. He knew he needed to ambush it multiple times to ensure victory. He then led his antennae forward, enhancing his senses as he widened his eyes in determination. He looked forward with a fierce expression. There's no room for mistakes. He inspected every corner of the cavern, but found no traces of the spider. With this, he decided that he must lure it out. He whipped out several eggs, thinking it should do the trick. He threw it on the web, hoping it would convince the spider that a prey was caught. After everything was almost set up, Adam threw the final egg and thought he only needed to wait now. But after quite some time of waiting, his patience grew thinner. He was so pissed, thinking that the spider was too scared to face him. He peeked from his hiding place, checking the trap just to be sure. He picked up a small stone from the ground, then hurled it towards the web above. Seeing there was no response, he decided it was time for his plan's phase 2. He planned to move carefully so he wouldn't shake the web. He bit another stone and approached the spider web. He then gently placed it on the silk threads, and he was delighted to see that it sticks. He began repeating the same process so he could infiltrate the inner sanctum. Now, he's all set up and ready to go in. He walked past the stone-weighted spider webs, thinking he must be careful in traversing the interior of the spider's nest. He knew that a single lapse of concentration would be deadly for him. Suddenly, he noticed something and averted his gaze to the side. There was the spider, ominously standing in the corner. He wasted no time and immediately fired his acid shot. He was delighted, certain that his acid attack reached the target. He immediately dashed in to check what happened. He was so elated that he carelessly leaped across the cave. But then, one of his legs got caught by the spider's silk thread. He tripped down and thought he'd die before he even met his colony. He was so sad as he was too young to die, not even a month old. But his tears withdrew as he noticed that there was no response. He managed to pull his leg out of the spider web, freeing himself. When he looked, he saw the spider lying on the ground, unmoving. After devouring the spider, he gained biomass and figured it was just a baby. He realized that it only took him 2 blasts of acid to wound it heavily. Looking at its pitiful state, he apologized to the young spider. He speculated that he didn't gain much experience since it was just a level 1 spider, but he was satisfied with gaining 2 biomass just by consuming it. Once again, the goal of evolving his eyes is not far from reach. Once he does, he'll finally be able to concentrate on other aspects of his body. He thought that maybe then he'll be able to actually fight a monster, but it was all wishful thinking for him as he squinted his eyes. He knew that he needed to figure out how to grow into an adult ant. He activated his stealth mode, planning to search for a place where he can hunt safely, but he was stopped on his tracks as he noticed something. In front of him is a wide and deep sinkhole. He peeked through its bottomless pit, knowing that going deeper meant more danger, but he was having second thoughts, thinking that maybe this is the trail. He felt like it wouldn't be a wise decision to just rely on luck, so he decided not to pursue these tunnels any deeper than he has to. Though, the humans and threat of painful death at their hands looms above the surface, Adam's head hurts just from thinking about it. He knew that he'll have to explore all options in the end anyway, so there's no need to think about it, and he continued on his way. As he walked, he was greeted by another splitting pathway in front of him. Looking at these 3 options, he recognized what it meant. He squinted his eyes. There are more monsters in this place. He wondered if he had just done a loop and if this cavern linked back to the first one he was in. He knew he had to be careful and find a section of wall he can work with. He then used his mandibles and began digging on the wall, thinking this is for the construction of his new nest. He bored a hole through the wall, a temporary shelter for protection. This place might be flimsy, but it works well for him. He went inside his new nest, thinking it was perfect upon seeing other preys. The system then alerts him that his digging skill has reached level 4. It might be a fairly useless skill, but he was satisfied to know he's improving. Looking back, he already improved a lot compared to when he first came into this world. He looked at his dashboard, remarking that his skills levels have increased a lot. Though, he admits that he's still pathetically weak in combat. Even if he wanted to explore this new terrain, he needs to get some rest to stay sharp. Given his past life's hobby of raising insects, he knew ants do not sleep. It was revealed that they simply stay still, entering torpor. With this, he decided that he will take some rest first before continuing. Adam was refreshed after his rest and continued traversing the place. His goal for today is to secure 1 more biomass to improve his eyesight. Next, he'll improve other parts of his body so he can become a more efficient hunter. He also needs to secure more XP points so he can increase his stats. Another agenda is to raise his stealth further by shadowing some monsters in the place, but he noticed that this tunnel looks just like the path extending from the cavern he was in before. This made him realize that he has been following a loop all this time. He speculated that the dungeon consists of differently sized tunnels. Perhaps the larger tunnels are highways, while the smaller ones are back streets. He was sweating as he continued traversing those tunnels. He was hoping that he'll find what he's looking for in that direction. He was then surprised to see that his tunnel sense has upgraded into level 3. It turns out that trying to map the tunnels in mind helps with leveling up. He remarked that he had noticed 2 new types of monsters already. The first one is the 3-tailed rat, with each of its tails tipped with a spike. The second is a mollusk-looking creature with organic spines of bright colors. He also observed that it is twice his size and is capable of moving up walls. He then focused and heard the sweet sound he was hoping for. He knew that in the path ahead were growling beasts and gnashing claws. He wasted no time and immediately dashed towards the place. Amidst everything, he needs information on how the system functions. For example, like how the system awards XP points when a monster dies. He wonders whether it's divided evenly or just to the one who dealt the final blow. He never received a system announcement awarding experience during combat, making him speculate that XP is only awarded when something dies. Looking at the brawl ahead, he plans to test a few theories relative to it. He began praising Gandalf while expressing his disdain against the centipedes. He thinks that those ominous slithering monsters think they're so great. On the other hand, he knows that the crocobeast isn't going down without a fight. It is doing its best to watch each opponent, but they're too slippery. Looking at the chaos, Adam would be happy to chip into this fight. He stood still while the brawl ensued, waiting for his perfect chance. When opportunity finally presented itself, he wasted no time and shot his acid. Both the crocobeast and centipede hissed as they felt a burning sensation. They continued to fight with each other, albeit finally noticing Adam's presence. He noticed that the croca has left itself open to retaliation. The remaining centipedes took advantage of their comrade's death and lunged forward. One began coiling around the croca's neck, strangling it to death. Another one charged forward to attack. But the crocobeast isn't an easy prey. He used his tail to whip them off. It also shook its body to remove that one centipede. They continued wrestling onto the ground, both sides trying to overpower the other, but because of Adam's acid and poison, its movements have slowed down. and the target of his previous attack is playing extra defensive. He smiled wickedly, like an evil schemer pulling the strings behind. He found another chance and unleashed his acid again, burning the centipede below. Adam normally wouldn't act so brazenly, but the situation created an optimal chance for him. He doubted that both sides would abandon their prey just for him. The centipedes acknowledge the crocobeast's strength and gang up on it to tire it out. They retreat every time it steps forward, while it's moving slower now, but it then stood up and wore a flashy grin. It wasted no time and immediately charged at the centipedes, surprising them. It opened its massive jaws, aiming to devour them. Watching this battle, he knew that the monster was using the last of its strength. It's desperate to bring down even just one more enemy before it dies. The centipede continued ganging up on it, resisting the monster's retaliation, but the acid attacks it received from earlier was taking a toll on its body. The unfortunate monster no longer has enough strength and falls to the ground. Adam couldn't contain his excitement and prepared his last acid shot. The centipedes began creeping on the fallen crocobeast while Adam awaits. He finally attacked as soon as he saw the perfect chance to do so. The centipede winced in pain as it felt the burning sensation of the acid. Two remaining centipedes locked their eyes on the fallen crocobeast, and they wasted no time and immediately devoured it. With this, Adam confirmed that only the last blow matters as he didn't receive XP. But he remembered that he killed one, earning him XP and skill points. Despite the crocobeast dealing most damage, he reaps the rewards for dealing the final hit. He then heard a thud and hissing sounds, prompting him to look. There, the countless centipedes are, searching for him. Fortunately, his stealth has reached level 5, allowing for an upgrade. He was so delighted and praised his one and only Lord Gandalf. Meanwhile, at the human land, Commander Titus was speaking to Loremaster Albert. Titus complimented him, to which the latter said he doesn't feel fine. The commander retorted with a sarcastic remark, prompting Albert to glare. He criticizes the formal call to arms before the entire court meeting. Knowing it was his aunt who wanted it that way, he expressed his disdain to her. Hearing yet another sarcastic remark from the commander, he told him to shove off. The old man only smiled, insisting he should say "Shove off, Commander." The two of them shared a hearty chuckle after exchanging sharp banters. Suddenly, another man rushed inside, panic etched on his face. The two men looked at the man, who was panting and trying to catch his breath. The man then brought the two legionaries into the golden hallways, leading them to a door to the Queen's hall. As they entered, they were greeted by other nobles and the Queen in the front. The spokesperson acknowledged the entrance of Titus and Alberto, who stood quietly as they awaited the reason why they were summoned there. An uncomfortable silence followed up, leaving everyone anticipating. The Queen finally spoke, telling the legionaries to be at ease. The Queen was delighted to see his nephew, who turned out to be Albert. The latter hesitantly returned the pleasure, calling her aunt instead of Queen. The Queen revealed they have gathered representatives from different cities, planning to discuss the activity within the dungeon and the course of action they must take. She then called on for Titus to begin the report, to which he complied. He began by reporting that mana levels within the dungeon are climbing quickly. According to data, they can expect a monster wave in perhaps 3 or 4 days. In addition, legionaries witnessed a monster ant near the surface. Knowing the nature of ants being collectivist and social insects, the Legion intends to explore deeper and exterminate the colony. In order to facilitate this, they are formally requesting military aid from the throne. They needed assistance in securing the city from the wave and delving for the monster's nest. Upon hearing this, laughter and chatters were heard inside the hall. Colleen called the attention of the Queen. The Queen granted her the permission to speak. Colleen began recounting the prosperity of the kingdom under the Queen's rule. She said that the citizens enjoy a peace that has seldom been seen. She then pointed out that dungeon delving is the Legion's responsibility, but they're begging for assistance in defending the city, proving their incompetence. The Queen's interest was piqued, so she asked for her to further clarify it. She petitioned the throne to allow the mercenary union direct authority over dungeon access. They planned to properly administer the resource together with the Merchant Guild. The Merchant Guild representative foresaw double profits within 2 years. The Queen denied her request, saying it's foolish to dismiss the threat of an ant. She's firm on not repeating her predecessor's mistakes of underestimating the dungeon. She further added that it's neither a resource nor a mine, but a threat. She also acknowledged the role of the Legion in liberating the land. But Colleen is more concerned with the future prosperity of the citizens than history, though the Queen is firm in trusting the Legion to oversee the dungeon. She turned to Titus and asked if they're confident in exterminating the nest. Titus bowed in front of her and expressed his pride in their Legion. He declared that nobody under the ground can match their strength. Going back to Adam, he's currently disgusted by the centipede remains. He couldn't help but remark on how hideous they are. But despite it, he still forced himself to pick it up. He knew that he can never pass up the opportunity for earning biomass. He brought it back to his nest and threw it on the ground. Upon taking a closer look, he realized that this thing is really awful to eat. He turned back. It's almost disgusting that he would rather starve. But his human self scolded him for being too picky with what to eat. He was so pissed and gritted his teeth frustratingly. Left with no choice, he began devouring their body. After a disgusting yet filling meal, he managed to gain 1 biomass. Adam wonders what happens to the remains that he can't ingest. He's puzzled on how to manage the other remains that are left on the ground. Adam was creeped out when the parts he didn't eat suddenly glowed. He thought that the leftover materials were being absorbed by the soil. He is now curious if the whole place absorbs the leftovers. Adam was suspicious of what these things are for. He realized that the more he learned, the more questions he had. He now focuses on what's important as the system shows information about biomass. He imagines that he's in a meeting while thinking on how to spend his points. He's considering improving his eyes due to his bad eyesight. Adam has an important policy, which is to assess everything before fighting. Since having better senses is a must, he proceeds with improving his eyesight first. Adam approved the upgrade and the system proceeded to apply the changes. He was rolling on the ground, scratching his burning eyes. He compared the pain to a swarm of bees that sting his eyes. While he complained, the system asked if he wanted to use his skill point. Adam confirmed, despite the pain in his eyes. He noticed a new option provided by the system. Adam was surprised to see that he can upgrade his level 5 stealth mode to an advanced version with the cost of 1 point only. He knows the importance of invisibility for survival, and he would feel like a fool to ignore this improvement. He read the new passive skill with a grin, knowing it would be handy. After checking his status, Adam felt like crying after seeing he's finally level 3. He is now confident to conquer the cave while boasting his strength. Adam thought of the future and paused for a second. He knows that he needs to consider the present, which is laying low and scouting. He imagines that fighting alone would mean instant defeat. Adam was confident that having advanced stealth means he can explore farther and better. He suddenly remembered that he hadn't properly scouted the cavern yet. Adam was curious about what lies down below. He thought that he wouldn't consider even exploring without his new upgrades. He is now ready to explore the depths with determination. Adam was taking deep breaths and feeling a little nervous. He heads toward the black hole, while thinking that humans don't have to explore it due to the uncertainty on what's below. Adam saw light in the dark, and the deeper he goes, the brighter the light glows. He was surprised by what he found out. He was startled to find a flower, thinking how it lived in the cave. He's trying to figure out how plants grow without the need for sunlight. Adam was impressed by the beauty of the flowers he found. Suddenly, his antenna sensed something nearby. Adam sensed some pheromones, thinking he found his clan. He felt glad, thinking he chose the right path. He remembered that the scout from their colony originated in this place, which pursued the thieves who raided their nest. Adam imagined congratulating the bravery of his fellow, and just like how venture in this cave to come back home. He noticed shortly in the shaft that there's 2 tunnels to go to. Terrified with his previous encounter with a spider, Adam is being careful to blindly choose his path. He chose to enter the wider and less dangerous path. Adam was shocked by what he witnessed on his way. Adam found himself in a new environment, just like a forest. He saw enormous mushrooms, and the grass was filled with flowers he previously found. Surprised by his discovery, he asks Gandalf why he suddenly found a prosperous ecosystem. He wonders why the new place seems to be immeasurable. He tried to estimate the distance of the roof to the ground, which made him think it's near 60 meters. Knowing the abundance of this ecosystem, he felt creeped out, thinking there's a lot of monsters in this area. Adam of something that bothered him a bit. He's thinking that the cavern might have existed somewhere within the cavern, and his path was the path taken by the scout. Adam was feeling depressed, since he had to explore the new area. He thought that he can't appreciate the place without knowing what's in it. He's anticipating if the monster's size in this area is bigger, and how much remains of biomass it took for the ecosystem to flourish. Adam steeled his resolve despite being in the unknown. Determined to go back to his colony, he advanced with a purpose on his mind. He decided to retreat and start gaining more levels. Adam made the sensible choice to return since he can't guarantee progress in an unknown territory. He knows that he needs preparations, training, and upgrades before exploring the new space. He declared to himself that he would conquer the unknown space soon enough. He returned to his nest feeling a bit pressured by time. Adam thinks that if his suspicion was correct, the main tunnel of the cavern would be filled now with soldiers. Having competition in his farming place, Adam struggles to find a new source of XP and biomass. He's thinking deeply about how to resolve this problem. He considered acting fast and chose to go with daring options while setting aside his earlier cautions. Adam realized that without XP and biomass, he can't move to the unknown grounds below. He also knew that he can't stay idle for long, knowing his time is limited. Adam set on a journey to find monsters and fight. As he wished to improve at a rapid rate, he thought of earning bonus points by consuming species he hadn't eaten yet. He had no idea how to find one of the giant crocodiles, which was the scariest creature in the cave. Adam found a slug and decided to attack without much plan. As he stealthily walks behind the slug, he's observing its appearance. Looking at its mucus, he thought that the grease helps the slug move with speed. He suspects that there's another purpose for the mucus. However, he decided to surprise the monster with a blast of his acid. Adam was disappointed that nothing happened after his attack. He found out that the grease protected the slug from his acid attack. He's also hesitant to use his mandibles since he might get stuck with it. Adam was annoyed with the slug's slime barrier for defense. Still, he won't give up and will think with the power of his human mind. He remembered how ants on Earth handle this kind of situation. He picked up a rock with a plan in mind. He sneaks on the back of the slug. Checking if the slug would react, he tossed the rock on the back of it. With a grin on his face, he assumed the slug didn't feel the impact. Adam decided to pile up some dirt and soak them to absorb the slime around it. After throwing a couple of rocks, he thought it's time to test his attack again. With his stealth mode active, Adam splashed the slug with acid. The slug was surprised and Adam grinned, thinking the monster felt the acid this time. As he watched the oozing acid on top of the slug, Adam felt disgusted watching it. He's curious how the slug gets their food, since it's slow and there's no plants around the cave soil. Adam dashed out and hid behind a boulder to find out how the slug survived. The slug looked at its back and saw the acid. It was furious and shrieked, showing its sharp teeth. The slug used a sticky acid to shoot the wall where Adam is hiding. Thinking that the monster's acid was stronger than his, Adam fled from the scene. He's trying to figure out if he encountered an acid-spitting nightmare of death. With no room for tears and weeping, Adam was determined to finish the slug. He knows his acid attacks are limited and he can't carelessly use it since he doesn't know yet how long it will take for his acid to replenish. After using his skill, he's still figuring out the time it will take before he can use his next shot. Since he can't use physical attacks towards the slug, his only option is to land a decisive blow to the enemy. He now blames Gandalf for being in his present position, while Gandalf closed his eyes being insensitive. As he climbed up on the wall to the ceiling, he needed to be careful around the slug. Suddenly, the system appeared, informing that his grip skill has reached level 4. With good news at hand, Adam put his focus on the prize. He seems to figure out that the slug might have shot its prey with acids before closing in for a feast. Adam made his resolve to attempt the strategy he came up with. His first step was to position himself on top of the slug, luring it with his back. He tried to attract the slug by moving side by side, confusing the monster with his movements. He thinks that even a creature like this won't know how to react if an ant wiggles its back towards it. As the slug opened its mouth, Adam shot its mouth with acid. After using the acid shot, his skill has reached level 4. He complimented his perfect shot, thinking that even Gandalf approves of it with a name solid Jet of Death. He now hopes for his flawless plan to deal fatal damage to the slug. As the system confirmed the creature's death, Adam felt proud taking down the disgusting mollusk. He felt a little hesitant eating the slug since it spits out acid. Recalling that people eat slugs all the time, he can't afford to reject the biomass he will get from it. Adam can't brush off the ick feeling. While observing the slime covering the slug's body, he dug up some dirt to remove the slime coating. Also, he spit out some dirt on the acid so he can get near its corpse. With no time to contemplate, he took a bite even when the texture of the skin was awful. He continued to chow down the slug as fast as he could. Adam stopped eating after he managed to eat halfway through. The system popped up, confirming he consumed a new source of biomass. Since he can't eat all of it, he now has to bury the slime's remains on the ground of his nest. Once again, he reminded himself that time is limited and he can't avoid taking risks. Adam intends to use his earned biomass points to upgrade his acid gland and primary weapon. He now needs to scout for more opportunities. As soon as he started scouting, he spotted a thorn lizard roaming. He remembered that it's the same prey he had on first hunt and decided to take it down with his previous strategy. He was certain he could confront the thorn lizard with his abilities without setting up a trap. Using all of his battle experience, he intends to use his improved eyesight and mandibles for this fight. With only having 1 or 2 acid shots remaining, he now has to get the most out of it. Since the lizard is resting, Adam intends on sneaking past the target. He reflected on how risky his last fight was, planning to improve the odds as much as possible. He carefully crept on the cavern ceiling, targeting the oblivious lizard. He then wasted no time and immediately shot his acid against the prey. It was bullseye. The lizard hissed as it covered its burning eyes. He realized that the lizard was trying to dislodge the acid. Adam reflected that his mandibles are for digging instead of piercing or cutting. The teeth on the inside of each jaw are flat and unable to tear into creatures. Other species of ants have nasty mandibles, allowing them to fight better, but as a worker ant, he doesn't have that much potential. Each of his bites is not doing a whole lot of damage. In this case, he will make up for his mandible's deficiency with quantity. He began biting on the nape of the poor thorny lizard. He did it repeatedly, not willing to let go despite the lizard's retaliation. He continued doing so until he finally killed it, leveling up his biting skill. He also earned XP from defeating the level 3 thorn lizard. Meanwhile, Titus was busy organizing the things needed for the exploration. Though helpful, he did not expect the queen to even provide her own guards. The Legion expects regular soldiers, but they can't compare to disciples of the guards. Preparations were expedited the moment they arrived, fastening the progress. He thought that he perhaps will find more stonewood once he re-enter the dungeon. He's ready to go through the struggle of carrying a slab of it. He then reached his hand under the desk and pressed a button, revealing a secret safe. He opened it, checking the contents inside. What greeted him were several vials safely stored inside. He sighed as he began lifting the left sleeve of his shirt, revealing a magical pattern marked on his biceps. He then put one vial on the center of the circle and pushed it, to which it was followed by a bright glow of magic as it seemingly drank the potion. Titus gritted his teeth, enduring the pain of this process. After successfully accomplishing the application of potion, he pulled back the vial. He continued wincing in pain for a while, facing the open secret safe. He then placed back the empty vial inside, clicking it close. He stood up, deeming it's time to get back to where a good legionary belongs. He picked up his weapon, thinking he needed to get it sharpened today. He looked forward with a determined expression, ready to jump into action. Meanwhile, at the newbie cave, criminals were seen being led inside. They wondered why they're bringing these people who are sentenced to death. The woman smirked bitterly, thinking it must be where they'll be sentenced. And the Legion never speaks of what happens inside the dungeons. It doesn't matter for her, the Legion's secrets will be her secret, and he will keep it well. In quite a distance, they saw dungeon mercenaries attempting to hunt. But they saw it coming. These mercenaries mainly just got hurt. They're a constant thorn in the Legion's side since they only interfere with the work. They looked at each other, wondering why these people always bite off more than they can chew. A voice was then heard, asking if they were ready for the expedition. The trainees said their armors and equipment were ready, but it's not what the Tribune meant. She revealed that she was asking if they're mentally prepared to conquer this dangerous place. She then reminded them not to get distracted by anything from their task. The trainee acknowledged the Tribune's words and asked how much longer until they advanced. The Tribune scoffed at their eagerness, then oriented them with the details of the plan. After a day's hard work, Adam believes that his effort comes with great reward. Tired of taking an aggressive approach to his circumstances, he checked the system to see his gains. He obtained 2 biomass points from the remains of a coral slug and thorn lizard. As he roamed around the dungeon, he found an isolated coral slug to kill. His strategy this time is to use the same attack pattern he used before. Even though time is not on his side, his acid shot can deal critical damage to the slug. However, he failed to dodge the slug's counterattack and felt the nasty sensation of the sticky goo. After analyzing the small bit of acid, he's now concerned with his health due to the thorax being partially melted. As the slug emerged to fight, he left the scene with his hopes on the low. Realizing he was highly tempted for an upgrade for his carapace, Adam thought that it's time to set his priorities straight. The slug was down, and he regained a few HP after consuming the monster. Finishing the entire slug gave him a good sense of himself. He checked the system, hoping to gain a few basic skills. However, he wants to upgrade his most effective offense. At the cost of 1 SP, he upgraded his acid shot to level 2 with improved range and damage. Improving his attack's range can guarantee accuracy regarding his shots and his own safety. As he spotted a wolf monster, he proceeded to attack with confidence while wishing he had more access to skill points for a quick level up. Adam's strategy is to upgrade his skills faster since a lot of skills will converge once he reaches level 4. With his skills and XP out of the picture, now he has to deal with biomass. His desire to upgrade his eyesight will give him more leverage against other monsters and is critical for his improvement. Knowing the benefits, it will also increase his awareness against surprise attacks, and he can locate easy prey to hunt. For Adam, the importance of better eyesight is crucial since he needs it for earning more skill points, biomass, and combat effectiveness. Once he gains enough biomass, he will upgrade all of his body parts. Tempted with enhancing his legs for scouting and retreat, he's still weighing his options if it's worth it to upgrade his mandibles. Adam considered using his biomass points to improve his eyes, acid glands, and legs. However, thinking of moving into a new environment that gives him an advantage would be better. After planning his next moves, he proceeds to use 4 of his biomass to upgrade his eyesight. As the process began, Adam was rolling in pain due to his eyes being stretched, that made him wish on Gandalf to make the pain be gone. He appreciates the benefits of mutation, however, the mutating process is a torture for him. Adam felt relief as soon as the upgrade was finished, and he could feel the improvements to his vision since he can now see his gaster. He appreciated his efforts along the way, even though it's not perfect. With his goal in mind, he continues to explore so he can harvest more XP and biomass as soon as possible. Adam went to the main tunnel, aiming for bonus biomass and new targets. Since he's fully rested, he aims to target one of the blade-tailed rats alone. On his way, he sensed some vibrations that may lead him to a fight between beasts, which is a great opportunity. Upon his arrival to the battle scene, he saw a group of wolf-like creatures fighting a group of claw centipedes. As the group of monsters fought against themselves, Adam stealthily positioned himself at the top center of the battlefield to use his offense. He proceeded to use his acid shot on one of the centipedes. His intervention made a perfect opportunity for the hounds to destroy the centipede's formation. Adam noticed that one of the hounds made a smart move to attack and separate one centipede. Keeping an eye on them, the battle was fierce, and the wolf didn't give the centipede enough time to recover from its attacks. Witnessing a tail strike from the wolf that landed a good blow to the centipede, Adam was stunned while thinking that it would flatten him like a pancake. He was scared of the hound's attack while interpreting its thoughts and thinking that the centipede can't match its greatness. Before the wolf hit the centipede with its final blow, Adam interfered with an acid shot and hit the back of the hound. Adam continues to sneak since he knew that one blast won't be enough to take both of the monsters out. Surprised by Adam's attack, the wolf got distracted and lost sight of the centipede, which led to the insects regrouping. The result of his intervention has made the fight on each side even. However, the centipedes seem a little unwilling to continue the fight. But the wolves won't let the fight end. Then Adam attacked again, which led to the group of centipedes' chance to take down one altogether. The centipedes ganged up on the hound with its claws and stingers, giving Adam the chance to escape the scene. He intends to head to the outskirts to finish off the almost dead centipede, and he noticed that the carnage between two sides hasn't made a single pause. After killing the level 3 centipede with his mandibles, he gained XP. Watching closely, Adam thinks that the fight will now reach its climax since the group of centipedes are giving their all for their offense. Since the other wolves and centipedes are down due to their injuries, he kept his eyes on the prize, waiting for the fight to reach its end. One member of the two sides was left barely able to put up a fight and circled each other for an opening. The battle intensified and both monsters delivered their final strike. Waiting on who will win the fight, it seems that neither of them won. As he realized that both creatures collapsed completely, Adam observed the surrounding area and witnessed the carnage that made both sides unable to fight. He suddenly burst into laughter with a ridiculous grin while thinking that the monsters danced on the palm of his hand. Adam feasted on all of them and made a good harvest of both XP and biomass. The system notified him that he reached level 5 and he's now available for evolution. In actually den my cower, will indal, indollar jasked. One after another, Adam gained a lot of biomass with his loot and he heard a growing noise from afar. Adam has a bad feeling about what's coming. He chomped on a wolf, then the system popped up and informed him that he consumed a new source of biomass. He thinks that it's crazy for a Lupus Draco cub to be a young version of the fearsome wolf dragon. On his way to the next prey, he thought he needed more time. Thinking that consuming an entire wolf dragon would make his stomach burst, he suddenly remembered something about his ant colony at home. Watching his ants, he noticed that ants have 2 stomachs. Adam saw that scouts and workers didn't always carry their prey back to the nest. He discovered that some ants eat to fill their stomachs and go back to the nest. Once the ants arrive, they regurgite their food, and some of them even turn into a living storage container for the colony. Now that his personal stomach is full, he now intends to use his social stomach. Adam ate the corpses one by one and gained biomass points. After eating, he noticed some adventurers arriving at the scene. Adam needs to hide real quick, however. His body feels heavy due to the biomass he gained. He climbed as far away as possible. As he sweats on his way up to the walls, he can hear the human soldiers tearing the monsters apart. With only 10 meters left to reach his home, he looked back and saw the view of the soldiers fighting the monsters. Adam used his advanced stealth mode, since it's best to flee without being noticed, and motivated himself to climb up more. More adventurers came to the scene fighting both hounds and centipedes. With the view of his home in front of him, Adam's challenge will be to enter through the dirt wall he had. As he dashed towards the hole, he was stuck due to the size of his body. With his stealth still mode activated, he struggled while imagining his human self pulling him out. Adam was out, and he looked beaten up while wanting to get rid of his haul down the shaft. The system popped up and asked him if he would like to proceed with his previous choice of upgrade. As he approved the system's offer, Adam felt a burning sensation in his body, but he needed to act fast. Since he didn't want to immediately fall to his death, he attempted to take careful steps down. On his way down, he hoped that the upgrade on his legs would be enough to sustain his size. Suddenly, a huge explosion occurred nearby. Adam thought that the enemies in the area detonated the dirt wall he built. Adam acted fast to leave the area since he only had enough time for one important task. The system asked him if he would like to use the evolution menu, and he confirmed. The system informed him about the changes regarding his evolution. He will now need to hunt bigger monsters since he will not receive the same amount of XP from the monsters weaker than him. Adam thinks that upgrading himself into a worker ant would be the greatest boost to his survival. However, he's tempted to choose the condensed core option to use magic. With wanting magic on the line, Adam chooses to spend his evolution to condense his monster core. There is Arius 4. Adam woke up groaning after his evolution as he felt the burning sensation in his thorax. Lying on the ground, he looked at his core thinking that it was new. Despite feeling weak, Adam continues to move out since it's dangerous to stay. He thought that pursuers might be around and investigate the shaft. While he's on the run, Adam checked his stats, hoping for something new to find. However, he was shocked to find what the system revealed. As he was downgraded, Adam complained to Gandalf why he was back to level 1. Recalling all of his efforts in combat and hard work for accumulating points, it's more than a stab in the back for him. As his memories of struggle flash back to him, he's seeking justice for the result of his evolution. Adam noticed that he gained 10 MP, which was not bad after all. Also, this means he was correct that his core was vital for mastering magic. This explains why his fellow monsters are drawn to the pool. By drinking the water in the pool, they were able to absorb the mana and use it to hasten the formation of their core. With a heavy sigh, Adam knows that it's useless for him to gain 10 MP since he won't be able to use it and he now needs to move to a new environment. Adam knows that it will be dangerous to move, however, he believes that his increased stats would come in handy. Adam threw a pile of leaves and was shocked to realize he might have made the wrong choice. Thinking of a possibility to use mana feels good, but it seems to be out of reach. As he checked the details of his skills in the system, not being evolved yet would mean he can gain points faster, which is better. Moving forward, Adam relieved himself that he won't be tempted again by not checking the skills menu in case mana shaping or spell chanting appeared. This way, it's time for Adam to explore the vast underground. Upon entering, he was amazed by the height of the wall to the roof. Adam thought it's best not to climb up since it would mean instant death if he fell. Also, he realized that the upgrade on his eyesight was not enough since he couldn't see the end of the walls. This leads Adam to think of the difference between the ant's eyes and human eyes. Since he's an insect, Adam now has compound eyes. With this, his eyes don't have one focus point. Adam was able to distinguish that he can't look at things with great detail like humans. However, he can now look in multiple directions but with poor detail. After careful consideration, Adam thought that mutating his eyes first to +5 looks like the right choice. Wondering what will be the result of his chosen mutation, he asks Gandalf what would be the result of such changes, but Gandalf seems to pay no mind while cleaning his ears and avoids eye contact with Adam. Feeling pissed, Adam asked Gandalf if he's taciturn or just shy, since a little advice from him would be nice. As he roamed around the place, he described it as alien-like or a scene from another world. Adam snipped some grass and checked out the huge mushrooms. He then took a bite of the big mushroom and it tasted awful. He noticed a yellow goop oozing out from the bitten part of the trunk, wondering if it's some sort of acid sap. Adam was freaked out when he realized he had taken damage by chomping on a mushroom. He was too late to notice the system's warning and his HP now shows signs of toxic consumption. Adam now needs to both move away from the shaft and dig new hiding spots in case humans arrive. Wondering if there are any creatures nearby, he fears he's all alone or the monsters are sleeping. Adam's realization was interrupted by the sound of monster birds flying around. He saw one of the birds snatch a claw centipede and took it mid-air, which scared him. Adam admitted that he was a little overconfident. With his skills improving, he felt like he was ready to explore solo. However, he was instantly discouraged due to the size of the centipede. He realized that the size difference of the monsters is due to evolution. Knowing this, he complains how unfair things are while thinking of Gandalf. Adam thought that he'd grow once he evolved as a mature ant worker, but he brushed it off and motivated himself. With faith in his skills and abilities, he knows he will survive. As he continued his journey, the trees and fungi's foliage caught his attention. He thought that the trees don't need sunlight to survive since they're inside a dungeon. He then looked up, wondering why they have strange and fleshy leaves. Since he's unsure if the trees are not ant traps, he intends to act carefully around them. Adam then noticed a disturbance in the surrounding area. He thought that he needed to find it, and he couldn't chicken out this time. He stealthily moved forward to check out the noise. In the midst of his discovery, the system notified Adam that his advanced stealth skill has reached level 2. Luckily, the monster he found wasn't an evolved Croca beast, and it was wounded due to some heavy fighting. As Adam recalled his first encounter with the monster, he's still terrified of its kind since they're eating ants. It is the perfect time and opportunity for Adam to take down the crocodile beast and seize the biomass he wasn't able to get before. As their battle begins, Adam uses his fire acid and hits the monster's wounds. The crocodile was enraged with his acid strikes, and he thought of a name for this. However, associating his name to the attack was weird, and it just doesn't sound right. Angered by the pain of Adam's attack, the monster brutally dashed towards him and attacked. After evading the monster's attacks, he thought that he's almost finished. Still, there's no reason for him to back down now. Adam made a shot again, but he noticed that the monster predicted his move. As he continued to dodge all of the monster's attacks, he also felt it using murderous intent towards him. Not knowing where to dodge anymore, Adam decided to rush forward with an attack, and his antenna was hit. Taking a hit made him nauseous, but he decided to push the risk with his offense. Determined to win, he bit in the monster's leg and his bite ability leveled up. While he's focused on the attack, the crocodile hit him with its tail that sent him flying and hit his back against the ground.